My sister's grades were bizarre. If I scored 500, she got 510. If I pushed to 600, she hit 610. She was always exactly 10 points ahead. But the moment I skipped an exam, her scores plummeted. That confirmed my theory. Her grades were bound to mine. This sparked a wild idea. If I scored over 740 on the college entrance exam, would she completely crash and burn? Then came the eve of the big exam. I worked like a tireless beast of burden, while my sister spent her days partying. Relying on me as her safety net, she became utterly lawless. She even skipped classes to run wild with her deadbeat friends. Whenever she got caught, she would snap, "Stop bothering me." Don't worry, the top spot in the state exam is definitely mine, and I did not disappoint her. On every mock exam, I secured her position at the absolute top of the class. I wanted her to drown in her own delusional paradise. Meanwhile, I secretly aimed for a perfect 741. My final semester felt like a dull knife slowly hacking away at my nerves. I woke up before dawn, slept at midnight, and did nothing else besides eating. I spent every second solving problems, even in the bathroom. Locked in my dark, sunless room, I ran like an unstoppable machine. Right next door, my sister laughed hysterically, constantly gossiping on the phone or binge-watching shows. Sometimes she blasted the volume on purpose, flaunting her absolute freedom in my face, but I did not care. I had learned to block out the world. Only one thought echoed in my mind: 741. That number was a nail driven deep into my heart. Whenever I wanted to give up, I pressed it. The pain kept me focused. By March, Lin Xiaoxiao started sneaking into my room. At first, I ignored it, thinking she was just looking for something. But things felt off. Her gaze shifted, becoming probing and suspicious. Once, while I was tackling a brutal math problem, she stood behind me, staring at my scratch paper. "Brother, why are you studying so hard lately?" she asked. I did not look up. I kept writing. "It is fine. The college exam is close. Why would I not study?" Lin Xiaoxiao leaned closer, trying to read my work. "But you were never this obsessed before." My heart skipped a beat, but I kept my face totally blank. I let out a heavy, exhausted sigh. "You think I want to?" Mom and Dad said if I do not get into a 985 university, they will cut off my allowance. Her tense face relaxed, and a smirk crept onto her lips. "As if you could get into a 985. She turned and left, throwing one last jab. "Do not overwork yourself. The top scorer spot is mine anyway." I watched her walk away, staying silent. Only when the door clicked shut did I pick up my pen again, a smirk playing on my lips. "Perfect. Keep looking down on me. The more you underestimate me, the safer I am." But her suspicion was not entirely gone. In the following weeks, she constantly pried into my study progress, asking which subjects were hardest and what my mock scores were. She even threw insults to mess with my head. I countered every move. During each mock exam, I deliberately managed my scores to stay in the top 5. Just high enough to look natural, but not enough to trigger her suspicion. My real weapons stayed locked in my mind. The hardest questions, the sharpest tricks, I kept to myself. I practiced only in the dead of night, shredding my draft papers and flushing them down the toilet to leave no trace. One night, while solving advanced competition problems, I heard noises in the living room. It was my mother and Lin Xiaoxiao talking. I cracked my door open. "Xiaoxiao, is your brother pushing himself too hard? He is locked in his room all day and barely comes out to eat." Lin Xiaoxiao scoffed. "Mom, what are you worried about? No matter how hard he works, what is the point? Whatever his score is, mine will always be 10 points higher. The harder he works, the more points I get." My mother agreed. "Right, my girl is so clever. Let him burn himself out then. He is basically working for you." Listening to them, my fists clenched so hard, my nails dug into my palms. But I kept my composure, quietly shut the door, and went back to work. One evening in April, a sound caught my attention. It was a faint rustling outside my door. I listened closely. Soft, cautious footsteps, followed by the agonizingly slow turning of the doorknob. I instantly realized Lin Xiaoxiao was spying on me. I did not turn around. I pretended to be fully focused, but I had already swapped my advanced workbook for an easy, basic test. The real study materials were locked in the deepest corner of my drawer. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the door crack open. Lin Xiaoxiao's face peeked through. She was staring at my desk. I let out a deliberate sigh and mumbled, "How did I get this wrong again? This is way too hard." The door gently closed, and her footsteps faded away. I sat up and sneered. "Lin Xiaoxiao, the more you guard against me, the more it proves how terrified you are. You know better than anyone that those high scores are not yours. You are just a parasite. Without me, you are nothing. Absolutely nothing." In the late May mock exam, I got 690, meaning Lin Xiaoxiao scored 700 and ranked first. That day, she threw a massive celebration. My parents showered her with praise, cooking all her favorite dishes. I sat in the corner, eating silently like a ghost. My father put down his chopsticks, looking proudly at Lin Xiaoxiao. "Great job, Xiaoxiao. Keep this up and the college exam is in the bag. You are so smart. Well, look whose genes she has." Lin Xiaoxiao smirked at me, her eyes filled with mockery. "Brother, you need to work harder. Do not fall too far behind. or it will embarrass mom and dad. I just muttered a quiet response and kept eating. Inside, I was laughing. Enjoy it while you can, because this is your final moment of glory. That night, I tossed and turned, mentally rehearsing every single scenario of the upcoming exam. June arrived, and with it, the college entrance exam. On the night of June 6th, Lin Xiaoxiao went out to drink with friends as an early celebration. Instead of stopping her, my mother gave her cash, telling her to relax. Watching this through the crack of my door, I felt nothing but sheer irony. I went to bed at 8, setting my alarm for 6. Lying there, I felt incredibly calm, like a warrior waiting to draw his sword. Tomorrow, all my endurance would finally pay off. The next morning, I woke up on time, ate a quick breakfast, and left. My mother escorted Lin Xiaoxiao to her exam, only giving me a half-hearted "do your best." I simply nodded. This was the absolute end of our ties. Soon, our paths would never cross again. My exam room was on the 3rd floor, next to a window. Sunlight streamed in. I sat down, arranged my pens, and took a deep breath. Closing my eyes, I whispered to myself, "You have waited 18 years for this. Do not lose." The bell rang for the Chinese exam. The moment I opened the test, my mind was sharper than ever. Every question felt like an old friend. I had already anticipated every single trap in the reading section. The essay topic was one I had practiced countless times. My pen flew across the page. As soon as I walked out of the hall, Lin Xiaoxiao rushed over to block my path. Behind her heavy makeup, there was a faint flicker of panic. She asked how I did, and I told her it was decent. Frowning, she pressed on, demanding to know how many multiple-choice questions I missed. It was hilarious watching her try to calculate her own score. I have no idea. I did not check the answers. Lin Xiaoxiao pouted, clearly unsatisfied, but she did not push further. She turned and walked away. I watched her leave, thinking, why the rush? Your true performance will be revealed soon enough. Midway through the afternoon math exam, disaster struck. A sudden, sharp pain flared in my stomach. Maybe I ate something bad, or maybe the stress was hitting me. Cold sweat drenched my forehead instantly. I collapsed onto my desk, taking several seconds to catch my breath. The proctor walked over and whispered, "Are you all right? Do you need the clinic?" I shook my head and grit my teeth. No way. I had waited 18 years, just for this single exam. Even if I died, it would be over this paper. I pinched my thigh hard, using the sharp pain to block out my stomach ache. I kept writing, even as the numbers and formulas blurred. Driven by pure muscle memory, I finished every single question. I solved the final, hardest problem using 3 different methods to ensure it was flawless. Walking out of the room, completely drained, I found an empty corner and collapsed to the floor. After catching my breath, I checked my phone. Lin Xiaoxiao had texted, asking about my math score. I replied with one word, normal. She immediately sent a smug emoji, convinced her victory was sealed. Looking at her text, I laughed. Ignorance really is bliss. The next day, for the comprehensive science and English exams, my condition mostly returned. These were my absolute strongest subjects, especially the science section. I had practiced those physics, chemistry, and biology problems 1,000 times. I breezed through them effortlessly. With 20 minutes remaining, I checked my answers twice to make sure there were 0 mistakes. English was even easier. The graders would have no choice but to give me top marks. The final bell rang, and I stepped outside. Standing at the entrance, I looked up at the blinding sun. I did not blink. I just stood there, letting the light wash over my face. After 18 years, I was finally free. Then, Lin Xiaoxiao intercepted me. She was dressed in bright, flashy clothes like a proud peacock, her eyes shining with absolute greed. She demanded to know how I did. Great, better than ever before in my entire life, I said. Her eyes instantly lit up. It was as if she had just struck gold. She spun around to brag to our parents. Mom, Dad, my brother said he did amazing, so mine must be even better. Watching her run off in pure joy, I smiled. It was the smile of a hunter watching his prey walk straight into the trap. Look at Lin Xiaoxiao. You know what she looked like? A moth flying into a flame, thinking it was the sun. During the summer after the college entrance exams, she completely let loose, promising our parents she would rank top in the province. She demanded a huge allowance in advance, buying the most expensive phone and computer. Then, she took our parents' hard-earned savings and blew it all partying with her fake friends. Her social media was just non-stop bragging about eating and drinking. She had no idea she was playing with fire. One night, I saw her post a photo at a luxury restaurant, captioned, "The future top scholar celebrating early." Under all the fake praise in the comments, I just felt a deep sense of absurdity. I wanted to visit my grandfather in the countryside and ask my parents for travel money. Before I could even finish, my mother snapped without looking up. She said, "Visit who? We have no money. Can't you see Xiao needs it?" Looking at her self-righteous face made me sick. They would not give me a single penny, but spent like water on Lin Xiao. These were my parents. My father, watching television on the couch, added without turning around, "If you want to go, go. Find your own way. Don't expect anything from us." I did not say a word, turned around, and walked to my room. The next morning, I found a grueling construction job. The burning sun made me dizzy, but I gritted my teeth for 2 weeks, just to save. Enough money for the trip and some gifts for my grandfather. Those 2 weeks were the hardest of my life. I saved over 1,000 yuan, enough for the train and some supplements. The day the results came out happened to be Lin Xiaoxiao's 18th coming-of-age party. To show off her biggest moment in front of everyone, she threw a massive, luxurious banquet. Every relative, colleague, and boss was invited. The hall was filled with endless flattery, and a distant relative walked up to my father with a glass of wine, smiling. "Old Lin, you must have great ancestors. Both your kids are so successful." Another relative chimed in, sounding sarcastic. "The oldest boy only knows how to study. He has no social skills. Xiao Xiao is the sweet one, smart and clever, 100 times better than her brother, haha." All the younger cousins crowded around her like she was a celebrity. One female cousin said with pure envy, "Sister Xiao Xiao, you are too amazing. Getting into Peking or Tsinghua University while holding hands with a handsome boyfriend makes you a total winner. What time can we check the scores? We want to witness history." My parents smiled. "Do not worry. If she is in the top rank, the top colleges will call us first to recruit her." Just as they said that, a phone rang. But it was not for her, it was for me. Under the stunned gazes of the entire room, I answered one call after another. First Tsinghua, then Peking University, and several other prestigious colleges. I politely thanked them, saying I would think about it. Lin Xiaoxiao stared at her completely silent phone, her eyes bulging. Desperately trying to save face, she gritted her teeth and muttered, "The best is always saved for last." Finally, the results portal opened. Everyone crowded around, forcing Lin Xiaoxiao to log in. Over in the corner, I quietly opened the score page on my phone too. Even though I was confident, my palms were sweating when the page loaded. My mother casually glanced over and asked what I got. I turned my screen to the crowd and said calmly, "I got 741 points. The room went silent, suppressing the storm of joy inside my chest. I kept my face blank. I did it. I actually did it. My mother froze, gave a cold nod, and without even looking at me, turned straight to Lin Xiaoxiao. Her voice was shaking with excitement. Quick, Xiaoxiao must have scored higher. Trapped by the crowd, Xiaoxiao had nowhere to run. She tapped the submit button with trembling fingers. The next second, her face froze completely. She looked like she had just swallowed a fly. The screen displayed 3 bright red numbers, 751. Xiaoxiao was trembling, and the room fell dead silent. A clueless distant relative, still blindly kissing up, yelled, "Wow, 751. That is 10 points higher than her brother. Xiaoxiao is a genius." But then someone whispered, "If I remember correctly, is the maximum score not 750? The room froze. Xiaoxiao panicked, breaking out in cold sweat, ruining her heavy makeup. "It must be a system error. Too many people crashed it," she screamed, frantically refreshing the page. Her finger almost broke the screen. Once, twice, 3 times. But that damn 751 remained nailed to the total score column. Someone suggested trying another phone. Grasping at straws, she snatched a relative's phone. But the result was still 751. That extra 1 point felt like a giant slap to her face. Just then, the banquet doors flew open. Several uniformed police officers and education board officials marched in with grim expressions. Their leader scanned the room and demanded, "Who is Lin Xiaoxiao? We detected an extremely abnormal score, with suspicion of hacking or massive cheating. You need to come with us." Xiaoxiao's legs buckled, and she collapsed to the floor, her face pale as a ghost. Seeing this, my parents panicked. But instead of protecting their daughter, they instinctively looked for a scapegoat. In the chaos, my mother suddenly shoved me forward, pointing and screaming. It was him. He did it. He was jealous of his sister, so he hacked the system to ruin her. "Officer, arrest him. My daughter has nothing to do with this." Here they go again. My own parents, throwing me under the bus without a single thought. Even if it made no sense, sacrificing me to save their golden child was easy, but my heart was already dead. In fact, I felt relieved. I shook off my mother's grip and looked at these clowns. I am not a hacker. I am the top student in science, Lin Feng. Lin Xiaoxiao is right there. She is the one who scored that miracle 751. Enraged, my father lunged to slap me. I grabbed his wrist, staring him down so hard he froze. "Try touching me again." The authorities are standing right behind me. Tsinghua and Peking are begging for me, and the media is waiting. Try me. From this moment on, no one in this house can control me, and no one will ever bully me again. The party meant for boasting became a total circus. Lin Xiaoxiao was dragged away for questioning, leaving a massive mess. This could not be hidden. A score of 751 went viral online that very night. It topped the trending search list, and everyone was laughing. Some said she got greedy buying grades. Others wrote, "If you are going to cheat, use a brain. The maximum score is 750, and you got 751. Is that an insult to the grading, teachers, or the system itself?" People dug up her social media and saw she spent months partying instead of studying. The entire internet slammed her, convinced she had paid someone to change her score, only to mess up. Scrolling through the comments, I felt an incredible sense of relief. For 18 years, I waited for this very moment to let everyone see the truth. The investigation results came fast, showing an abnormality in her answer sheet. It mysteriously scanned 1 extra point, causing the glitch. Though there was no direct proof she tampered with it, the board decided to use a backup exam and make her retake it alone. When the news reached our house, Lin Xiaoxiao was relaxing on the couch. When she heard about the retake, she jumped up, her face turning pale as paper. "What do you mean, retake? Why on earth do I have to retake it? My score was real. It was just a system glitch." Sitting nearby, my father warned with a grim face, "Keep your voice down, the neighbors will hear." My mother paced frantically, trying to comfort her, while plotting our next move. "Xiao, do not panic, you are smart, you will do fine." But Xiao went completely wild, throwing a screaming tantrum, and demanding that I had to retake the test with her. "Make him sit next to me." She lunged forward and grabbed my arm, her nails digging deep into my skin. Her eyes were bloodshot as she screamed, "You must take it with me tomorrow. Do you hear me?" I shook her off, and said coldly, "I already finished my exam. Why should I retake it with you?" Xiao froze, looking at me with sheer disbelief, like she never expected me to say no. My mother immediately rushed in to defend her. She yelled, "What is with your attitude? Your sister is already suffering like this. Why can you not help her?" "Lin Feng, this is about our family's reputation. Just take it with her." Looking at them, I found it pathetic. Our family's reputation? No, it was only her reputation. That had absolutely nothing to do with me. I refused on the spot, went back to my room, and locked the door. I ignored all their screaming and banging. Naturally, the education board threw out their ridiculous request, too. In the end, under the eyes of the whole city, Xiao retook the test alone in a government conference room. With cameras running 24 hours a day and 3 examiners staring at her, she had no room to cheat. The result was a total disaster. She scored only 157 points, worse than her usual blind guesses. With only a 300-point baseline, she had spent months dating and daydreaming without opening a single book. When the results dropped, I was working at the construction site. A classmate texted me that Xiao scored 157. I froze, then burst out laughing. My coworker thought I had heat stroke and offered me water. I waved him off, saying I was just happy. The retake stripped away her mask. Going from 751 to 157 made the internet explode. The comments were absolute gold. Someone wrote, 157 is her real level. Others said this was solid proof, her 751 was fake. Unable to handle the cyberbullying, she tried uploading her old report cards to prove herself. But the result? I was completely doxxed by the all-powerful netizens. My bizarre academic surge in the last 6 months of senior year after previously being a hopeless student who barely hit 300 convinced everyone she had been cheating all along. They even dug up my real report card. From elementary school to high school, they dug up every single one of my major exam scores. I had consistently been in the top 3, a real, rock-solid genius. People commented, "Are they really siblings? How is there such a massive gap?" Some even said one of us was a top scorer, while the other could barely even pass. Looking at those comments, my heart sank. I used to think getting good grades would earn my parents' approval, but later, I realized that no matter how high I scored, I would never measure up to Lin Xiao in their eyes, because they didn't want an outstanding son, they just wanted a tool to clean up their daughter's messes. The teachers and classmates who once idolized Lin Xiao now treated her like the plague. Even my parents were constantly pointed at when they went out, with neighbors whispering behind our backs, saying their daughter was actually a brainless fraud who cheated everyone for years. What a complete disgrace. During that time, Lin Xiao hid in her room, terrified to show her face. Like a rat in a sewer, she kept her curtains drawn tight, forcing our mother to leave her meals right at her door, refusing to see anyone. Meanwhile, with my Qingbei Medical School admission letter in hand, I packed my bags and headed to the countryside to stay with my grandfather. Once school started in late August, I would be completely free. Or so I thought. Summer in the countryside was like a steamer, but I felt at peace. My grandfather's old house sat at the foot of the mountain, 3 mud brick rooms with an old locust tree out front. The buzzing cicadas weren't annoying at all. This was my real home. I had been dumped here since childhood, under my parents' excuse that the fresh country air was good for my health. In reality, they just found me an eyesore, wanting Lin Xiao to have all their love and resources. Having me around was just extra competition. Grandfather never spoke ill of them, he just took care of me in silence, teaching me to read and write, telling me to rely on myself. The thing he said the most was that education is the only way out for poor kids. I carved those words into my bones. I stayed at the old house for over 20 days, waking up early to help grandfather feed the chickens, reading in the yard in the morning, walking the fields with him in the afternoon, and sitting under the locust tree in the evening. He told me stories about the past, how mischievous my dad was as a kid, and how hardworking my mom was when she first married in. Hearing these unfamiliar stories felt like listening to someone else's family history. In my memory, my parents were never like that. One evening, as we sat in the yard under the bright moonlight, grandfather suddenly asked how I did on the college entrance exam. I thought about it for a moment, and answered honestly that it should be pretty good. Grandfather nodded, his cloudy eyes reflecting the light. Gazing at the moon, He stayed silent for a moment before whispering, "Good, as long as it's good." He sighed, his voice sounding a bit hoarse. "Your grandpa didn't amount to much in this life, so I'm counting on you." I lowered my head, my nose stinging. From childhood to now, only he had ever said such words to me. Only he truly wished me well. "Grandpa, wait until I go to college and get a job. I'll bring you to the city to live with me." He waved his hand, smiling like a child. "I can't get used to the city. Knowing you care is enough." That night, lying on the clay bed, listening to the insects, I thought, once the results are out, everything will finally settle. I will show everyone that I, Lin Tian, am not a punching bag to be bullied, nor am I anyone's stepping stone. On August 12th, with over half a month left before school started, I was in the yard helping grandfather dry corn, pouring baskets of golden corn cobs onto the bamboo mats. Suddenly, my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was my mother's number. I froze. She almost never called me. The last time she did was before the exam, asking what score I could get, her tone dripping with scrutiny and calculation. I picked up, and immediate crying echoed from the receiver. My mother's voice was hoarse and frantic. "Xiao Tian, hurry back. Your dad fell critically ill. He is dying." My heart suddenly sank, and the dustpan in my hand almost slipped to the ground. I demanded to know what happened and which hospital he was in, but mother just wept, ignoring my questions and repeating "hurry back. Hurry back" before hanging up. I stood there, my mind spinning. Grandfather came out of the house, saw my face, and asked what was wrong. When I told him, his expression shifted, and he urged me to pack my bags. "No matter what, he's your father, you must go see him." I nodded, went inside, and messily stuffed a few clothes into my backpack. Before I left, grandfather rushed after me and shoved a heavy cloth bundle into my hands. "Take it," he said. "This is the emergency cash I saved." I opened it to find a stack of crumpled small bills, adding up to about over 2,000 yuan. It was his retirement money, saved coin by coin from selling eggs and vegetables. I tried to push it back, but he had already turned inside, his hunchback looking so frail in the doorframe. Clutching the bundle, my eyes burned. From our village to the county town was a 2-hour bus ride, followed by a 3-hour train to the city, and then a transfer to high-speed rail. The whole trip would take nearly 10 hours. I bought the earliest ticket. Sitting on the bumpy bus, as the landscape flashed by, my mind began to clear. Something was wrong. Way too many things were wrong. Mother's crying felt forced, like a bad performance. She hadn't mentioned what illness my father had, which hospital he was in, or even how his condition actually was, only blindly begging me to return. If he was truly dying, she would have said, "Your dad is at this hospital. Come quick," not "hurry back." Back where? Home? If he was in the emergency room, why would she be at home calling me? Her tone carried a strange, desperate urgency. It didn't sound like she was worried about her husband. It sounded like she was terrified I wouldn't return. The more I thought, the weirder it got. I called my dad's phone, but the line was busy. I tried again, still busy. So I changed my approach and called my dad's colleague, an uncle I'd met a few times. I politely asked if anything had happened to my father. He sounded completely baffled. "Huh? Your dad treated us to dinner last week and was fine. Why?" "Oh, nothing. I must have misheard." I made up an excuse and hung up. Sure enough, it was a trap. Leaning back, staring at the mountains outside, the weight on my chest actually lifted. It wasn't because I was cold-blooded, it was because I knew my family too well. If father was truly dying, Lin Xiaoxiao would have already been crying online, playing the victim to milk sympathy. She wouldn't be this quiet. Since it was a scam, what was their goal in tricking me back? I spent hours trying to figure it out, and the answer was obvious. Lin Xiaoxiao's scandal was too massive. Her 751-point joke was still trending. Even if she repeated a year, she couldn't get into a good college. Without me, she was nothing. Meanwhile, I was heading to Qingbei to start my new life, escaping this toxic swamp forever. They would never allow that. In their eyes, my only value was to be Lin Xiaoxiao's stepping stone, her tool, and her personal blood bank. Once I realized this, the panic vanished, replaced by the cold calm of a hunter waiting for prey to step into a trap. But this time, the hunter and the prey are swapping places. Since they want to play games, I'll play along to the end, but I'm writing the script. On the train, I used grandfather's money to buy a cheap backup phone and a power bank. I fully charged both devices, downloaded a cloud syncing camera app, and tested it 3 times to make sure it was bulletproof. I also messaged a few future roommates from the freshman group, explaining the situation. I told them to call the police if I went silent for over 48 hours, and shared my real-time location as a backup. Their response was immediate. "Holy crap, bro, is your family really that messed up? Don't worry, we've got your back. If anything goes sideways, we'll call the cops immediately. Stay safe and keep in touch." Staring at those messages, a wave of warmth flooded my chest. Total strangers were willing to help me, while my own flesh and blood wanted to throw me into the fire. What a sick joke. When I finally reached home the next evening, the setting sun painted the old apartment building in a dusty gold. Dragging my suitcase, I stood downstairs, looking up at the place I'd lived for 12 years, yet never once felt a sense of belonging. Taking a deep breath, I went upstairs and knocked. The door opened to reveal my mother, her eyes red, as if she'd just been weeping. She froze then, instantly plastered on a fake, flattering smile. "Oh, Xiaotian, you're finally back. Come in, come in." Her bizarre enthusiasm gave me goosebumps. Since when had she ever been this nice to me? Keeping my composure, I walked inside, my eyes quickly scanning the room. My dad was sitting on the sofa watching TV, remote in hand, looking perfectly healthy. He didn't look sick at all. Standing in the hallway, clutching my suitcase, I asked calmly, "I thought Dad was dying. Why is he here watching television?" The living room went dead silent. My dad glanced up, looking deeply uncomfortable, while Mother's smile stiffened before she quickly recovered. "Oh, it was just a false alarm. Your dad felt bad yesterday, but the hospital said it was nothing serious. Since you're heading to Tsingbei soon, we just wanted you home so our family could gather." Family. Hearing that word slip from her lips felt like a sick joke. I didn't call her out. I just nodded and muttered a reply. As I walked inside, I caught Lin Xiaoxiao out of the corner of my eye. She was curled in the corner, hair matted, face sallow, with dark circles under her eyes, a total ghost of the brilliant golden girl everyone worshipped months ago. As I walked past, she looked up with a complicated expression filled with resentment, fear, and something else I couldn't quite place. I ignored her, walking straight to my room to unpack. My space was at the very back, a tiny, windowless room that never saw sunlight. It used to be a storage closet, cleared out grudgingly only after I returned from grandfather's house. Lin Xiaoxiao's room, on the other hand, was a massive, sun-drenched master bedroom. The division of resources in this house had always been stark. I shut the door and immediately began checking my desk, bookshelf, closet, and under the bed, ensuring nothing had been tampered with. Then, I pulled my backup phone from my backpack, found a hidden angle, and wedged it among the clutter on my bookshelf, pointing the camera straight at the door. I set it to record in silent mode, making sure there would be no alert sounds. With everything set, I lay on my bed, pretending to doze off while keeping my ears strained, listening for every single movement in the living room. At dinner, my mother cooked a massive feast. For the first time ever, she actually called me to eat and piled food onto my plate, saying I had lost weight and needed to eat up before leaving home. I could barely taste a thing. My mind was racing, trying to figure out what they were really up to. When would they show their fangs? After dinner, my father cleared his throat, bracing for a speech. "Xiaoxian," he began, "having you come back this time. Well, there is actually something we need to talk about." I looked up, wearing a look of perfect confusion. "Here is the thing," he said. "Your sister has been in a bad way lately. You know how hard the college entrance exam hit her. She is severely depressed now, and won't even leave her room. Your mother and I discussed it. You are her brother, and the closest person to her. Can you spend time with her and help her through this?" Was that it? I waited for the trap. Sure enough, my mother chimed in, her tone dripping with calculation. "Yes, Xiaoqin, you two are twins, bound by blood. You are family, through thick and thin. What is wrong with helping your sister?" I stayed silent, just staring at them. The tension stretched. Suddenly, Lin Xiaoxiao looked up, her eyes rimmed with red, looking at me with a trembling voice. "Brother, I know I was wrong, okay? I have done some thinking. It was all my fault. I shouldn't have treated you like that. Can you give me another chance?" I almost laughed out loud. Her acting had definitely improved, but I wasn't buying it. I cut straight to the chase and asked what they really wanted from me. I had zero patience for their mind games. My parents exchanged a look, and my father finally laid his cards on the table. "Here is the plan. We found a way to get Xiao Xiao into a university too." I raised an eyebrow, signaling him to keep going. "Xiao Xiao told us about her score on the college entrance exam, that 10-point rule. You must know it better than us. There is a special connection between you two. As long as you are around, she gets high scores." My heart skipped a beat. She actually told them our secret. My father stood up and walked over to me, his tone leaving no room for argument. "So, your mother and I decided. Can you delay college for a year and repeat your senior year? You can take the exam with Xiao Xiao next year. That way, she can get into a top school too. Having two of you go to elite universities would bring so much honor to our family." I was stunned, not by the sheer absurdity of the request, but by the way they proposed it. They acted so righteous, as if it were the most natural thing in the world, as if sacrificing my entire future to uplift Lin Xiaoxiao was completely reasonable. My mother struck while the iron was hot, grabbing my hand, her eyes gleaming with pure calculation. "Xiaoxian, this is good for you too. You are so smart, you will definitely get in again next year. With your top scorer status and another year of prep, elite colleges will be begging you to join them. And Xiao Xiao gets a bright future too. Isn't this a win-win for everyone?" "I already have my official admission letter," I replied. "Why on earth would I repeat a year?" My father shrugged it off with a wave of his hand. "What does a letter matter? If you do not register, it is automatically voided. Xiaodian, you are her brother. What is wrong with yielding to your sister? Once Xiao Xiao makes it big, she will look out for you. You will get a share of her earnings." It was the funniest joke I had ever heard. "I refuse," I said. My father's face darkened, and my mother's smile instantly froze. Lin Xiaoxiao snapped her head up, the begging in her eyes instantly turning into pure malice. My father stood up, towering over me, his voice carrying a heavy threat. Lin Tian, what kind of attitude is that? We are discussing this nicely, and you reject it outright? You want me to give up my dream school, repeat a year with someone who scored only 157, and use my score to boost her? On what grounds? Because she is your sister, you are her brother. Helping her is only natural. I have helped her for 18 years. Since childhood, you gave her every single resource while tossing me in the countryside, completely ignored. Now that she has ruined herself, you suddenly remember me? You expect me to ruin my future to clean up her mess? My father slammed the table. Lin Tian, what is your attitude? This is my attitude. I am not doing it. I turned toward my room. Behind me, Lin Xiaoxiao let out a hysterical scream. Lin Tian, what right do you have? Those points should have been mine. Without me, you are nothing. Listen carefully, Lin Xiaoxiao. My points were earned with my own sweat and blood. They have nothing to do with you. Siphoning my score was your luck, not your talent. And it is definitely not your leverage to threaten me. Lin Xiaoxiao was speechless, tears streaming down her face out of sheer frustration. My mother rushed over, shielding her, and pointed a finger at me. Lin Tian, look what you have done to your sister. Have you no conscience? I did not bother arguing. I stepped into my room and locked the door. Outside, things were being smashed. My father was roaring, my mother was weeping, and Lin Xiaoxiao's screams joined the chaotic symphony. It was absolute chaos. Leaning against the door, I closed my eyes and listened to the noise, feeling surprisingly calm. Tonight was only the first round. The real battle was just beginning, and they would not give up easily. Let them try. I had plenty of patience. That night, I did not sleep. I stared at the ceiling, keeping my ears alert. Around 2 in the morning, I heard a faint rustling outside my door, like quiet whispering. I held my breath. It was my parents. My mother kept her voice incredibly low, but I caught every word. Lao Lin, what if we take his things while he is asleep? Without his ID and admission letter, he cannot leave. His light is off. He must be asleep. We do it tonight before things get complicated. Footsteps neared. My heart hammered, but I stayed completely still, pretending to be asleep. The doorknob jiggled, slowly turning. I was so glad I locked the door. Outside, my mother hissed a curse. The kid locked it. Fine, tomorrow then. He cannot run away anyway. The footsteps faded. I opened my eyes, staring into the dark. I smiled grimly. They never planned to let me leave. From the moment I stepped into this house, I had walked into a trap, but they had no idea that I was already prepared. This game was far from over. The next morning, I tried the doorknob. It was locked from the outside. My heart sank. I walked to the window, but heavy security bars blocked any escape. They were welded shut. There was no way out. The cellular signal was active, but they had cut the internet. I used my data to message my roommates, letting them know I was safe for now, but to stand by. Around 10 in the morning, the door opened. My mother walked in with a bowl of porridge and a fake smile. Hungry? Eat up. Have you changed your mind? I ignored the bowl. She set it down and sighed. Her voice turned cold. Xiaodian, be smart. Even if you got into a top university, who is going to pay for your tuition and living expenses? Do you really think we will give you a single penny? You won't even afford to enroll, and you will come crawling back anyway. Besides, who knows if your admission letter will even remain intact? If you cooperate and repeat a year, we will fully support you next year. But if you do not, she left the threat hanging, but the message was crystal clear. I stayed silent. Once she left, the lock clicked. I was officially under house arrest. On day 1, I managed to stay calm. By day 2, anxiety crept in. Not from fear, but because the clock was ticking. College registration was approaching fast. On the 3rd night, I decided to take a risk. At 2 in the morning, I crept out of bed. I used the file of a nail clipper to pick the lock. It was a simple, old-fashioned spring lock. After 10 tense minutes, a soft click echoed. The door opened. Holding my breath, I crept out into the pitch-black living room. I felt my way toward the front door, my heart hammering in my chest. The floorboards creaked softly under my weight. Every time they did, I froze, listening intently before taking another step. Just as my hand reached for the doorknob, the lights flooded the room. I froze. My father stood at the hallway entrance, holding a wooden club, his face livid. He had been waiting for me. I did not explain. I just ran. But it was too late. He lunged forward. My mother and Lin Xiaoxiao had appeared, watching silently from the sidelines. No one stopped him. When he finally stopped, panting from exhaustion, he barked, "Let me tell you, you will never escape this house unless you agree to repeat that year." I lay on the floor, shaking all over. Not out of fear, but pure, unadulterated rage. 18 years of endurance, nearly boiled over, but I forced myself to suppress it. It was not time yet. I did not have enough evidence. My backup plan was not ready. They dragged me back, threw me inside, and added a heavy new padlock. It was a padlock on the outside, completely unpickable. I lay on the bed, my back burning with pain, but the agony only sharpened my focus. For the next 2 days, I behaved, eating and sleeping right on schedule. I pretended to give in. My parents thought I was broken, so they eased up a bit, but the door stayed locked, keeping me trapped. I spent those 2 days memorizing their schedules, tracking when they slept and woke up. Every detail was locked in my head, waiting for the perfect moment. On the 4th night, they finally moved. At 2:07 a.m., the lock clicked. Not a tentative rattle, but someone actually turning the key. I closed my eyes, breathing steadily, playing asleep, but every nerve was screaming. The door creaked open. Stealthy footsteps stepped in. 2 people, judging by their breathing. One was my mother, the other my father. They crept over to my desk, rummaging through things. I stayed still, though my heart was hammering. I knew exactly what they wanted: my ID card and my college admission letter. Those 2 items were my ticket out of this hell, and their only leverage to keep me trapped. The rustling went on for minutes. Then, my mother whispered, "Nothing. Where did he hide them? Search again. He must be here. He couldn't have taken them out." They tore through my desk, my bookshelf, and my backpack, even checking my pockets. Then, someone stepped close to my bed and paused, hesitating to search my pillow. "Did you find it? Shh, don't wake him." Then, my sister, Lin Xiao, stomped in. Her heavy steps showed she didn't care about waking me at all. I felt her looming over me, staring. Her gaze felt like a cold, venomous snake. I could literally feel her breath on my face. Then, her voice hissed, sharp and confident. "Cut the act. I know you are awake." She did not waste time waiting for a reply. Instead, she started tearing my room apart. Books flew off my shelves, slamming onto the floor. Drawers were yanked out completely. I had hidden my ID inside my pillowcase lining, and my admission letter was folded tiny, sewn inside my suitcase. I thought they were safe, but I underestimated her. Madness. She ripped my pillow away, feeling every single inch like a guard searching for contraband. No corner went unchecked. Then, her hand froze right over the hidden pocket, and she screamed in triumph. "Found it!" My chest tightened, but I stayed still. Next, she lunged at my suitcase, dumping everything onto the floor and ripping at the lining. The sound of tearing fabric was deafening. Her nails clawed through the backing until she felt the hard paper. I snapped. Sitting up, I slammed the bedside lamp switch. There she stood, clutching an envelope. My admission letter, her face twisted with greedy, ecstatic triumph, like she had struck gold. I glared at them, demanding coldly what they were doing. They exchanged looks and dropped the act. My father slammed my ID onto the desk and sneered, "Let's not play games." Xiao explained everything. "As long as you are around, she gets high grades. This is just your fate as brother and sister. Just accept it." "Xiao Qian, listen to me," my mother chimed in. "Repeating a year won't hurt. You're so smart. You will get in again next year. Then you both go to top schools. It is a win-win for our family." I said no. I snapped, standing up to grab my ID. But my father shoved me back. I stumbled, slamming into the wall, a sharp pain shooting through my bruised back. He leaned close, his voice cold. "No? You think you have a choice? From now on, you go nowhere. Without your ID or admission letter, you cannot go to college. You will stay here, study, and repeat the year. Next year, you can go to your dream school. Nobody is ruining your life." I took a deep breath, burying my rage. It was not time to fight back yet. I needed evidence. "So," I asked, "you came to steal my things?" My mother sneered, not even bothering to hide it. "Steal? Parents manage everything here. You are just a kid. It is perfectly normal for us to keep your ID safe." I glared at Xiao. She was pulling the admission letter from the envelope with a sickening, vengeful smirk. She held it up like a trophy. Then, she did something I will never forget. Clutching the paper, her eyes burning with pure malice, she slowly tore it right down the middle. That sharp rip felt like something in my chest snapped. Unresolved, she kept tearing the halves until they were nothing but tiny shreds. They drifted to the floor like snow. She did it slowly, destroying my new life step by step. Staring at me, she laughed like a maniac. "No letter now. How will you register? You will be my stepping stone forever. I want you to rot in this gutter with me." She shook violently, her hair wild. "Why do you get to be better? Why does everyone praise you? Why do you get the top university while I stay home and get mocked? Those things should have been mine." Tears finally spilled from her eyes, not from sorrow, but raw envy and madness. Suddenly, her voice dropped to a whisper, almost as if she were talking to herself. "Do you know how terrified I've been? I always knew my grades were fake. I stole them from you." Her face twisted as she confessed how terrified she was before every exam. She was terrified I would fail, or that everyone would realize she was a fraud. Sobbing, she screamed how she hated my intelligence. Hilariously, she thought my grades required zero effort. "I hate myself more because without you, I am nothing. You cannot leave. You have to stay here. You must be my stepping stone forever so I can survive." I stared at the girl I had called sister for 18 years. She was pathetic, but that changed nothing. Being pathetic did not give her the right to ruin my life. My parents stood there, watching her tantrum without trying to stop her. They actually looked proud of her actions. It was absurd, pathetic. This was my family, my own blood. I looked down at the shredded paper, my shoulders starting to shake. They assumed I was weeping, totally broken. My mother sneered condescendingly. "Stop crying. It is not the end of the world. Just take the exam again next year. Consider this a hard lesson. Learn to be obedient. I kept silent, kneeling to gather the paper shreds with trembling hands. Xiao Xiao laughed hysterically at my misery. Cry. Keep crying. This is your destiny. I looked up. She froze. My eyes were completely dry, filled with cold fury and a brief, dark smile. That grin terrified her. She stumbled back. What are you smiling at? She demanded. I stood up slowly, my voice hoarse but eerily calm. Nothing. I was just thinking your performance was brilliant. You should become an actress. I stopped talking and slumped onto the bed in fake despair, staring blankly ahead. Seeing this, her suspicion melted away, replaced by smug triumph. Scared now? Should have thought of that earlier. My father scoffed, pocketing my ID card. Go back to sleep. He is not leaving this house. Like soldiers completing a mission, they marched out. My mother locked the door behind them. The click was quiet, but it hit me like a thunderclap. I was locked in. Darkness swallowed the room again. I sat listening to their fading steps until the house went silent. I got up, walked to the shelf, and pulled my hidden backup phone out of the junk pile. They never suspected that my pile of trash held a recording phone. It caught everything. My sister's crazy eyes, my parents, watching coldly, aiding and abetting. Their outright confession to the conspiracy was fully documented. I uploaded the footage to the cloud, making multiple backups. I edited a short clip, posted it online, and captioned it. This is the toxic family I am escaping. Then, I dialed the police. I am being held hostage by my parents. I answered their questions quickly. They promised to send help and told me to wait. I muted my phone, tucked it back into the clutter, and slipped back under the covers. My heart was pounding, but I had to look perfectly calm. I did not know how long the police would take, or what might happen before they got here. But I knew if I could just survive tonight, everything would change. Minutes dragged like hours as the sky outside turned gray. I lay there with my eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling, straining to catch every tiny sound. At 4:23 in the morning, I heard footsteps. It was Xiao Xiao. She walked softly, trying not to wake anyone. But in the dead silence, her movements were impossible to miss. She stopped right outside my door. I held my breath, freezing completely as the lock clicked open. She was inside. Closing my eyes, I pretended to be asleep while my heart drummed in my ears. She walked over and stood by my bed. I felt her cold stare, lingering on me, heavy with suspicion. Then she began pacing around the room, her footsteps drawing close, and then fading away like a predator, patrolling its territory. I had no idea what she was searching for, but a terrible dread began to pool in my chest. Her footsteps stopped right in front of the bookshelf. My chest tightened as the sound of rustling started. She was digging through the clutter. I gripped the blanket, my mind frantically spinning. What would I do if she found the phone? Then, suddenly, the noise stopped. The air froze. I could hear my pulse thumping. What is this? She muttered. I knew she had found it. Game over. I snapped my eyes open and sat up, catching her holding my spare phone with the screen still glowing in her hand. With a flashing red recording icon. Her face twisted from confusion to realization, then to pure rage. Are you recording me? She shrieked, lunging at me like a rabid beast. I did not even have time to dodge before she was on me. Her fingernails ripped across my cheek, leaving a burning trail of pain. I grabbed her wrists, and we crashed to the floor, wrestling wildly. She was incredibly strong, fueled by pure frenzy. We slammed into the nightstand, sending the lamp shattering in the dark. The racket woke my parents instantly. Dad burst in, took one look, and shoved me hard against the wall without asking questions. How dare you hit your sister? He roared. Clutching my throbbing head, I gasped for air and told him. I didn't hit her, she attacked me first, I yelled. But Xiao Xiao had already scrambled up from the floor, the phone still clutched tightly in her fist. She ran behind Dad, acting as if she had finally found her savior. Dad, he is secretly recording us. He filmed everything we did. Dad's face went pale. He snatched the phone and stared at the screen, his expression twisting into absolute fury as the veins bulged on his forehead. You think you are clever, do you? He growled, before slamming the phone onto the floor. The screen shattered. He stomped on it repeatedly until it was nothing but scrap metal. I watched the destruction without a hint of panic. The video had already uploaded to the cloud. This phone was just an empty shell. I hid my relief, masking it with a look of pure despair, as if my last lifeline had been snatched away. Mom rushed in next, her face turning pale as she surveyed the damage. Let me tell you, she hissed. You are staying locked in this room. Do not think about leaving. If you post anything online, I will make you pay. Dad kept shouting curses as he stormed out, ordering Mom to keep a close eye on me. Tien, you have disappointed me so much. Everything we do is for this family. Why can't you understand? Reflect on your actions. She walked out, and the door clicked shut, locked from the outside once again. This time, they dragged something heavy to block the door. I heard a chair scraping outside. Left alone in the wreckage, I leaned against the wall and touched my swollen face. They had no idea the police were already on their way, or that the footage was already spreading online. They thought destroying my phone saved them, unaware that the storm was just starting. Time ticked away as dawn broke. Around 6 o'clock, I heard Dad's phone ring, followed by his panicked shouts. What video? Who posted this? Next came my mother's shrill screams and Xiao Xiao's hysterical crying. The entire house erupted into absolute chaos. I knew right then that the video had gone viral. I lost track of time, maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour. Then, heavy pounding rattled the front door. It was loud, urgent, and accompanied by commanding voices, shouting for them to open the door immediately. Who called them? What do we do? Mom panicked. Do not panic. Hide the kid. Tell them he is not home, Dad hissed. Listening from my room, I heard Mom cry. Hide him where? Outside, the police shouted. Open up immediately, or we will force entry. Dad finally cracked. I heard the front door click open, followed by a flurry of tense voices. I couldn't make out the exact words, but I could hear Dad desperately making excuses, trying to lie his way out. Minutes later, the heavy barricade outside my door was dragged away. The door swung open to reveal 2 uniformed police officers. The moment they saw me, they frowned. The younger officer stepped inside. Are you Lin Tian, the one who posted the video? I nodded. He stared at the scratches on my face, my swollen lip, and the trashed room. His expression turned grave. You are injured. Who did this? My father did, I said. Officer, this is a family matter. What is wrong with disciplining my own son? Dad protested. The older officer glared at him. A family matter? False imprisonment and locking someone up are family matters to you? We got a call saying someone was trapped inside by their family, and we also received a disturbing video. Take a look. You call this a family matter? The video showed them ransacking my room and Xiao Xiao shredding my admission letter in a frenzy. Dad's face went totally pale, and Mom nearly collapsed, her knees buckling. Xiao Xiao cowered in the corner, hair disheveled and eyes vacant, looking like a crushed bug. We need you to come make a statement, the officer said. I nodded and stood up, stepping over the debris to walk out. As I passed Dad, he lunged to grab me, but an officer shoved him back. You are under suspicion for false imprisonment and assault. Stay back. Dad looked like he had swallowed a fly, terrified and helpless. I did not even look at him, walking straight out of that miserable room. Behind me, Mom's hysterical wailing echoed down the hall. Tian, you cannot do this to us. We are your parents. How can we ever face anyone again? I stopped and turned. You stopped treating me like a human being long ago. Now, it is your turn to feel what that is like. You will regret this, Xiao Xiao shrieked. I will get you back. I stared at her twisted face and replied calmly. Xiao Xiao, remember this. From today on, we are dead to each other. I turned, climbed into the police cruiser, and never looked back. By the time my statement was finished, it was already noon. Based on the evidence, your father is facing charges of false imprisonment and assault, the officer explained to me. As for your sister Xiao Xiao, destroying your admission letter counts as damaging personal property. She will face full legal consequences as well. What about my admission letter? I asked. You can get a replacement, the officer reassured me, advising me to contact the school while they provided the official report. I nodded. Stepping outside, the blinding midday sun hit my face. I stood on the steps, squinting up at the clear sky. It felt like I had finally woken up from a long, agonizing nightmare.